Hi, and welcome to part 4 of our Active Directory dashboard with PS Write HTML and PowerShell. In the last video, we added a part to our dashboard to monitor the users. So if we actually just go ahead and take a look at what our dashboard looks now, we have our disabled users, our locked out users, and our expired users. Now you would be able to add another section which would have all the users in your domain, and you can simply search for them. But I'd rather, since that's very easy to add in, if you guys want me to add that in another video, just let me know in the comments. I'll definitely create a video to show you guys how we can actually do that with what we already have in the code right now. But what we're actually going to be focusing on today is really adding some groups to be able to monitor. So a lot of times you might want to monitor groups like the domain admin groups or the enterprise admin groups, or sometimes you might have other groups that you really want to kind of monitor to make sure that the right people have the access to it, or make sure that not too many people get added into those groups in case it is a security vulnerability if there are too many people in those groups, like the domain admins and the enterprise admins as well. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add those in here. So let's go ahead and let's start here. So what I like to do, kind of like the user properties, what I really like to do is define the groups that we want to monitor, and then we can also go ahead and we could do the group properties as well. But we're going to do group properties a little bit different compared to the users, and we're going to see exactly why we do them a little bit different. So what we're first going to want to do is at least get our groups to monitor. And this is going to be our array of groups that we want to make sure that we monitor constantly and we have in our dashboard. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm just going to put domain admins in here right away. And we're going to put enterprise admins right away as well. Those are going to be the two groups that we monitor by default, but you can add as many groups, or you can only have one group if you want to monitor. Now, be aware if you do have multiple domains, usually your enterprise domains will only be at your root level domain. So if you do have like a parent at the top, and then you have some childs, usually the enterprise will only be at the root level. So that's something to keep aware of. You'll get some errors potentially, but we're going to actually write the error, the try catch statement to actually catch that error, because I actually ran this on an environment with multiple domains, so I was actually able to capture that error. We won't see the error pop up in our example here because we only have one domain, but we're still going to code around it for you guys. This way you guys can use it on an environment with multiple domains. So what we first want to do is we have our groups to monitor. So let's go ahead and let's just create a groups variable. And we're going to create that as just an empty array right now. And we're going to be storing all the groups and all the group info in that variable here. And that variable, of course, we're going to most likely use it down here when we add it to our entry object. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and loop through all the groups to monitor. So what I'm going to do is for each group to monitor in groups to monitor. So that's going to loop through all the different groups that we have. What we're going to do is we're going to have a try catch statement right off the bat here, just to catch any errors that we will have, because maybe we are trying to get a group that does not exist in the domain. Example, the enterprise admins might not be in every domain you look in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a try, and we're going to set this object to AD group, and we're going to set that to get AD group, and then we're going to set that the identity to group to monitor, and then the server, we're going to set that to domain. And then what we want to do as well is just get all the properties here, and that'll be good. And then all we need to do afterwards is go ahead and just do a groups plus equals AD group. All right, so we have all of our groups. So if we actually just go ahead and we run this here, we'll actually be able to see what our groups come up as here. So we do get AD group. That's fine. That should be equal plus, I believe. And let's just go ahead. Let's run that again. And it's not letting us do that here. So get AD group. That is why I forgot the S on groups. You guys probably saw that before I did. And now we have to do the plus equals, I believe. Unless I have another typo, which you guys might be seeing before me. Okay, no, perfect. All right, so if we actually go ahead and we look at the groups now, we actually get our two groups that we're actually going and looking for. We have our domain admins and we have our enterprise admins. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of properties in here. We're going to be simplifying this in just a little bit. But the main thing that I want you guys to look at is actually the members. So members is an array. And we're going to see why this causes a little bit of a problem. And I'm going to show you guys how to fix it right afterwards as well. So let's just go ahead and let's go and put our groups in our dashboard here. So let's go ahead and let's create a new HTML section here. And we're going to do the header text. We're going to put in groups to monitor. Now, there are multiple ways that you can actually do this section for sure. We're going to do it in just one section. Now, you can do it a section and then subsections, and then each subsection be the group. The only thing is, once you start having a lot of groups, you're going to start having a lot of different sections, and they're going to get really, really tiny and not super readable. So I definitely prefer doing it this way, but there you can do it a little bit like the disabled, locked out users or expired users, or how we did it up here with all the different domains here. So for each domain, like we created a new tab here, but you can actually go ahead and say for each group, create a new section, and then you're going to have a subsection in here. And then inside of that, you would have your table with all of your information. I just like having one section with the groups to monitor and then my table in there. It just makes it look a little bit cleaner. We're going to see what it looks like. So new HTML panel, we're going to set that to invisible just to match our typical standard here. And then we're going to have our table, our data table, and we're going to have our domain.groups. And we're going to have our hide footer and hide buttons. And actually, I forgot what to do. One thing here, actually, back at the top, we forgot to add our groups into our object here. So let's just make sure we go ahead and we add that member. We're going to change that to groups, assign that to the groups variable. So if we go ahead and we just go ahead and we run this here, this will run no problem. Now, the only thing is, when we actually run this, we're going to have a lot of information in here. And the thing that I really want us to focus on, once again, is the members. So if we wanted to actually see who was in this group, we don't actually see who is in this group. We only get members and saying that it's an Active Directory AD property value collection. So it's a collection of AD property values. That doesn't really give us a whole lot. And we don't even get really the amount of people that are in the group. So what I actually like to do is just custom code an object for the groups. Compared to the users, we just use the user object. When it comes to groups, I like to make things a little bit more personalized. So let's go ahead and let's see what we can actually do here. So let's do an entry, and we're going to make that equal to a new object. And we're going to do a type name. And we're going to do a PS custom object. And let's go ahead and let's add member with the input object of entry. And then the member type is going to be a note property. And then the name, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to put that as name. And then the value, we're going to put that as AD group.name. Basically, what we're doing is we're using our AD group object to create our new object that we want. But we're going to be able to create a very specific value set. So another good property that I really like to bring in is actually the scope. So if we do AD group, we can actually get the scope here. If we do dot group scope, and let's just go ahead and let's just keep pasting in this add member here. I also really like to add the category, so that will tell us whether it's a distribution group, a security group, and that is once again a group category here. And then the other thing that I like to add in is when it was modified. So I like to just do the modified or last modified. So let's just do last modified here. And that's just the AD group dot modified. And this is where we start getting into the custom fields here that we like to do. So what I like to do is just add a field called member count. And all we need to do is reference AD group dot member dot members dot count. So if we actually just go ahead and we look at this here, we're going to see that it is 1 because our enterprise admin only has 1. And then what we can do as well, again, is add a members property here. Now, we're just going to do it this way for now. We're going to see what it looks like. So we're going to do a AD group members, and we're going to see what that actually ends up looking like here. And then we're going to do a groups equals plus equals entry here. And this means we can actually go ahead. We could take this one. So we only want to add it as long as there's no error in the finding of the group. So that should be fine here. And in the catch, we don't actually have to put anything. You can definitely log an error code or display an error code here as it did not find the group. That would definitely be completely valid. So let's go ahead and let's just see what this actually looks like for us. And once we actually pop that up, so here is our 2 groups. So we can actually see very clearly now our groups. We can see domain admins, enterprise admins. It's already more readable than what it was. We can get when those groups were actually last modified. We can actually see this group was modified on December 12th. At 5:59:35. It's actually today. It is December 12th today when I'm filming this. We can see that the member count is 2, but our members are still showing up as a AD property value collection. That's because all we took is we took the array from one object and put it into another object. Now there is a very, very easy way to actually fix this, and that's what we're about to do right now. So right after we get the AD group, what I like to do is I like to create another variable. We're going to call it group members. Now, there are multiple ways that you can actually do this. You can loop through all the members and kind of just create a string and put all the names in one string. That does work. The only thing is it becomes not very readable. So we can actually do that right off the bat and show you guys what it actually would end up looking like. So if we just do a string here, and then we do a for each member in AD group dot members, and then open and closing curly brackets, and then do group members plus equals member. And what I like to do is probably just we can go ahead, we just add some spaces in between these. And let's go ahead and let's see what this will actually end up looking like. We just have to change one thing in our add member. Instead of adding the AD group dot members, we're going to add our group members variable here. And let's go ahead and let's run this code now. So when we go and look at it here, now because I don't have any abnormally large group, as you can see, it's still fairly easy to read. We have our first user here and then our second user here. But what we can actually go ahead and do is let's go ahead And let's just go into our Active Directory here. And I'm actually going to add a bunch of users into our domain admins here. So let's go ahead. Let's add employee 2. Let's add employee 3. Well, I believe it is test employee 3 in this case. And let's see here. We can add guests. We can add the let's just add guest administrator. So we have 5 users here, and we're already going to see how messy it can really get if we don't make the formatting nicely in here. So when we actually go ahead and display this, it becomes quite unreadable at this point now. We have a lot of users in here. We can't really see exactly what's going on. The nice thing is, if I do look up employee, it does bring up only domain admin. So this is actually a fully searchable field. So if you wanted to see everywhere that, let's say the guest user was in here, you type in guest and it'll show you the group that it belongs to. So it is very, very useful to be able to have this search feature. And that's why we really like the PSWrite HTML dashboards. But let's go ahead and let's make this look a little bit cleaner. So what I like to do, instead of using strings, is I like to use literal strings here. So instead of just a double quote here, we're going to add an @ symbol. And you're going to see we get a little red squiggly here because it says no characters are allowed after a here string header, but before the end of the line. So what we actually need to do is actually do a carriage return here on a new line and add a @ symbol because the string is now missing the terminator of the @ symbol here. So I can do this and we get rid of our error. So this is what we need for our group members. And then what we actually need to do as well is keep adding a string literal. So what I like to do here is actually just, we can do here an add, and then we can go ahead, space this out here, and we can go ahead, do that. And so once we actually have that, so we have our literal string start here, and we have to untab all the way to the end. It has to be at the beginning of the line. We put in our member here, and then we put in our string literal. This should actually go ahead and fix our problem of how it looks like here. Let's just go ahead and let's see. And it does not. So the reason for that is because we actually didn't really change anything. All we did was make a literal string. So the way that we're actually going to fix that here is change our group members to a plus equals to just a equals here. And right on top of the member is we're going to put group members here. So it's going to stack inside. It's going to re-put the whatever group members is equal now is going to put it here. And then we're going to add member right underneath, because just by doing the plus equals, it doesn't actually notice that there should actually be a carriage return before we add the new member. So this is what we're going to do. And now actually, if we go ahead and we run this, and we go down to the bottom, we actually have a nice list here where each user is on its own little line. So that I find really, really helps a lot for this. So what we can actually do here is just do a search. And once again, if we just type in guest, we get that. If we type in administrator, we get both groups because both groups have the administrator. If we want to see which one has the employee one, we only have domain admin. We can see exactly how many members are in here. We can see the time that it was last modified, what kind of group it is, what kind of scope it has. So we can tell that this one is applied to the entire, including the children. And then this one is just on that domain. And again, if you had multiple domains, this would be in every single one of your fields here. So that is really how you can do groups to monitor. And of course, you can add way more groups here. So we actually have a couple groups, so we can actually add some groups. So let's say we wanted to also monitor here, let me just go ahead and let's see some group names that we have. And we could just add those into our examples here. So if we actually open this up, I should have some groups. Oh, we have groups right here. So let's go ahead and let's look at maybe IT or the network admin or web admin. Let's do network admin and web admin. So let's do network admin and web admin. And let's make sure I actually spell these correctly here. And let's go ahead and let's run these here. And once we actually get into it, as you can see, nothing came up. And that's most likely because we typed in the names wrong, yet because they don't actually have spaces. So as you can see, even if there are errors, it won't completely error out. It won't show it to you. So that's where the logging to the screen for it wasn't able to find the group is definitely very, very useful. But here is our group. So we have network admins. We can actually see that we have 2 users in here. And web admins, we actually currently have 0 users in there. And we can actually see what time they were last modified as well. So all this is super, super useful if you have groups that you definitely want to keep an eye on because maybe there are constant groups that are causing problems, or they're groups that you want to monitor for security reasons and you want to just be able to see who's in them very quickly. This is something that you can easily add to your dashboard here. As you can tell, we are already getting quite a bit of stuff in here. So if we actually zoom out to 100%, we have a nice quick view of our Active Directory right now. So if you guys want to add anything to this dashboard, please let me know in the comment section down below. We can add that. If you want to add the searchable users where we have all the users, maybe you want to have all the groups as well, and maybe you want to have all the groups and all the members of the groups, and then this way you can just simply search, give me all the groups that employee 1 belongs to. You could easily do that. Now, of course, you can actually even go further in the code. Because we are getting the group members, maybe you want to get some more Active Directory details for those users and put how many are active or how many are disabled, just to see if you can actually perform some cleanup in those groups as well. Maybe the last login date. These are all ideas that you can easily put into the dashboard when we're already pulling all this type of data out already. But if you want to see anything specific, let me know in the comment section down below. If you had any problems or questions with this video, please let me know in the comment section down below as well. And please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and also hit that notification bell to be notified when that next video comes out. And I will see you guys on the next video.